I don't have to wait for the crescendo of the song to get out of the like matrix sounds that it's doing right now, because you guys, the YouTubers, can't hear that. They can't hear it. We had like 10 people on YouTube last time, which is kind of encouraging for that channel. It'll be interesting if it grows at all. It is really just like an archive of you know, that goes back longer than a couple months. What else? What am I not doing? I think I got everything done. We got YouTube started up. It's got its thumbnail. Oh, I'm gonna hit save on the image editing program. I'm not even gonna call it by name this early into the YouTube stream. What did I hit Control D, I think. Just save it again, save it a third time. You learn this with CAD software. Google tried to like ruin us on this, where you Google every time you do something, it technically saves in the background. Like that's kind of cool with Google Docs, but like programs like this and CAD programs and stuff will teach you that Control S after everything you do. You have to do it manually. You manually save after literally everything you do. And sometimes you save it a couple times just in case, just because we've all been burned. We've all been burned. Anybody who has any experience with any of these software platforms knows that they recklessly use RAM in an attempt to do the thing you want to do in a speedy and timely manner without you noticing that things are going on. And what that does is that basically crashes a bunch of trains together, and your program will just go and then dead. So Control S, Control S, Control S. They tried to put in autosaves, but it wasn't good enough. It wasn't good enough, because sometimes you walk away and get a cup of coffee and come back to your computer and you forget that you Control S. I Control S all over my computer. Ooh, ooh. Okay, let me get a glass. There's some dirty glass back here that I can use. Oh yeah, it's disgusting. That's a really bad, I didn't get a glass ahead of time. Yeah. Welcome to office life, where washing dishes does not occur. You ever see those guys in the office, or guys and gals, I guess, alike, will have a coffee cup that they haven't washed in about 35 years of working there? I asked one of them about it. Oh, that adds flavor. I'm like, your joke did not sufficiently deflect my questioning. Like, haha, funny, but you know, you are a walking Superfund site in a mug. That's like crazy. Like if shit hits the fan and the zombies attack, I'm throwing those mugs at the zombies, and maybe we can fight whatever the zombological infection. If it's not a holy infection, if it's some kind of an earthly virus, then maybe I can fight it with whatever pathogens you have cultivated in this mug over the past 75 years of working in an office. Smith Clay has subscribed. Thank you so much, Smith Clay. I appreciate the 49 months of being one of Bother's question marks. I don't really, I guess nerds is what we called you previously. I did not theme what my followers are. I hate ads, says Smith Clay. Oh, are you watching ads right now instead of hearing the dulcet tones of my voice? I can wait a minute. I mean, I'm not going to do anything. I'll thank you again. We get like 4 subs a stream, so. Oh, sub and then refresh. Hello, I have a real question. Why do we have to socialize with people when we didn't ask to be born in this world and it's just the parents doing? We are the carriers of the torch of human knowledge and experience, dating back to the very beginning of social structures. Humans exist in social structures in order to ease the burden of survival. If you would like to take all of survival on your own shoulders, you are welcome to go walk out into the ocean, which is just about... No, because they found a plastic bag at the bottom of Mariana's Trench, so you're probably better off just walking off into the suburban woods and trying to avoid people and getting some kind of a legendary Bigfoot status for being some kind of a weird sand squanch that doesn't want to participate in things like industrial shampoo in order to not smell like a sand squanch. This is just what we do, and it's what you need to do, and you try to find the least stressful niche for yourself in order to exist amongst other people. Now, we don't all take that into such cold terminology. You know, there's something about people and loving each other and having a social structure and stuff like that that's just innate to people. People have been isolated, locked up, and they've some very unethical experiments on raising people without interaction with other people, and we don't work when that happens. They're broken. People can break from stuff like that. So It is innate to us. That's all I got for you. Find something that lets you cultivate your own experience within this whole big experiment. And then maybe next time you'll get resurrected as a plant. We got a very cute corgi, and that cute corgi is awesome. And I appreciate every minute that I get with her, because we're only going to have a corgi for about 10 years-ish, give or take, maybe more. But it gives you some perspective to have a goofy animal and to care for it. I want the world to stop evil, suffering, and world on mortality. I want the world to stop evil, suffering, and war on mortality. I mean, look, we are a respite from that kind of stuff, and it is a respite that I need as much as you guys need. So commenting on the current state of everything being on fucking fire is not something that I'm going to contribute to on this channel. We work with electronics, you know, and I appreciate a little time in my life when I can focus in on doing something in front of my face, because everything is stressful, and you know the screws are turning and the clamps are tightening. Bring yourself out of it. Walk in the woods. It actually benefits human beings. Walking in the woods actually lowers your stress. It has been shown in study after study. But anyway, the way I lower my stress is by accomplishing things, and we don't do that here. But we try to. We try to accomplish things. And I think we're getting pretty damn close. We got a good thing going with this MIDI thing. Unfortunately, this MIDI controller, I can't suggest anybody go out and buy it. There were people in chat who were like, wow, that MIDI controller is really cool. I should go get one. Oops. They don't make it anymore. It's not even like I looked for it, like maybe if they don't make it, it'll be available on Amazon. Nope, not on Amazon. Miss me with that. Oh, we need to calibrate this camera. Hold on. Calibrate the micro camera. Automation. It's automation. It's automation. Yeah, so it's got this wonderful STM32 just sitting here, and I've reverse engineered what all the connections are. I want to load Arduino code into it because I don't care to learn anything other than Arduino. I've tried. What's up, Gangrene Fiend? I've tried learning other microcontrollers and I can do it. It just feels weird. So for me, it'd be ideal if I can get Arduino running on this MIDI controller, and that way we can pivot. We can make it speak CAN bus. And if we make it speak CAN bus, everything on the simulator setup can speak CAN bus. We can get every individual piece of equipment running CAN bus. And then if my idea comes to fruition, then we will be able to actually make this configurable on the fly. It's still going to be a big deal to like configure it to do stuff, because there's a lot of ins and a lot of outs on that thing. But with any luck, we can have sort of a central hub of communication where I can reassign what this stuff does. Oh, let me go move this around here so I get control of it. Sorry for the shaky cam. It's a literal webcam on a microphone arm. And we have thermals too. Woo. So we looked up a whole, I just had, Monday I visited the doctor and we just looked at a whole comprehensive like blood panel. If they didn't get my A1C, I am going to be angry. I'm going to actually be angry that they didn't get that test, because my primary assigned all that stuff. Can I, wait, hold on. I'm going to open up that chart thing again. Control Shift T. I'm going to open up the chart thing again. I'm going to look at it away from you guys and see what did my doctor order? Last 3 months, office visit, view after summary. Metabolic panel, ferritin, hemoglobin profile, hemoglobin A1C. Okay, so he ordered it. The doctor ordered it, so we'll figure out what my A1C is next. I'm really excited to see the A1C because if you guys don't know, I went on Ozempic. I'm on the Ozempic, and that's led to a pretty noticeable change in habits. Turns out people like have this whole messaging system of hunger that is a sort of a spiral where you gain weight, and that causes you to feel more hunger, and then you feel more hunger, so you eat more, and then you gain weight, and blah, 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 blah. There's there's many, 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 many different strings involved in the sort of human metabolism engine. Part of that is insulin intake, and my insulin intake would keep going up and up and up on the other diabetes care and management. The care and management initially with insulin pumps is you go on this, yeah, I'm on the Ozempic, maybe not the train, but with the insulin pump, you have a basal rate, which is a constant per hour rate of insulin that's sort of drip fed into your body, sort of to mimic the way the pancreas normally does it. It keeps you from sneaking up to hyperglycemic and then going diabetic ketoacidosis. So you get that little bit, and then when you eat something, you would bolus a little insulin. What would happen is my A1C would be high because I ate too much stuff during the 3 months of not seeing the doctor. So I ate too much stuff, gain weight, basal gets higher, more insulin resistance from the weight, more basal because of the insulin resistance, et cetera. It's a spiral. It's just a spiral. And you just gain weight and you gain weight and you gain weight. And you go, oh my God, I got to do something about this. Diet and exercise are the way to go. But the lizard brain continues to influence everything that you do. And it's unfortunately for many, many, many different people out there. I'm not the only case. You eat stuff and you don't realize that you've justified it in your brain and you shouldn't be eating it. And then hunger is anathema. Feeling hunger is the worst thing ever, right? So along comes the Android Autopancreas system, AAPS, does do something like a basal rate, but it's also giving you microboluses of insulin, much more akin to what your pancreas should be doing. And it'll auto-bolus, so you will be in range more often, which is really good for your insulin resistance. You'll start to build up more insulin resistance. On top of that, the GLP-1 drugs, inject that shit, flips the switch. And I'm part and parcel of the whole thing. You know, I'm diagnosed with ADHD. ADHD, being fat, etc. I just eat, I'll eat sometimes. I don't do that anymore. I thought about like, hey, should I get a bag of chips? Like, no, because I'm just going to binge it at some point. Like, I just don't need it. And by the way, in spite of all this stuff, I don't eat sweets. I've never eaten sweets in my whole, basically since I was diagnosed with diabetes, I don't mess with them. I don't eat dinner. I don't eat dessert with any meals and stuff like that. But anyway, the Ozempic, man, it just flipped a switch. And everything is in moderation now. I've been able to moderate just about everything. I'm still going to have to clamp the bolts down a little bit more if I'm going to lose a bit more weight. Because, I mean, I'm still vastly, wildly overweight. That's 70 pounds that I got to lose, right? But that is within reason. I think I can get there. Not quickly. I don't want to do that quickly because I think that can harm you. You do bad stuff to your liver. But I can gradually over the months lower it just by being a little bit better. So Dad's been saying I have ADHD, which I'm inclined to believe. You got to look up the real symptoms of it though, because a lot of people just say just because you've got your head in the clouds, oh, that boy's got ADHD. And it's like, well, no, clinically, no. Clinically, I've been diagnosed. So always leave it up to a professional, but they're expensive. So maybe do some hard research on what the symptoms really are. But yeah, so I finally kind of got the doctor to agree for the GLP-1 injection, and it's been going well. I mean, I've been on it for like 6-ish months, and I think I'm at the 20-pound mark. But from just from the charts from yesterday's medical appointment to the one that was like a month earlier, 3 pounds. Which is pretty significant because they weigh you fully burdened. You got shoes on and everything. And the higher weight, the higher weight might have been because it was in the middle of like snowstormy winter and I was wearing a big coat. I think I took my coat off for it. Did I take my coat off for it? I think I did. It's within reason to take off your coat to weigh yourself, right? Lost 20 kilograms. I'm too American to know what that means. Across a full year, it takes a lot of time, and just be safe and no sudden move. No, are you weight-splaining to me? You don't need to weight-splain to me, guys. I know what I'm doing. No meds or anything, just total diet change. Yeah, doing a complete and utter change does not work for me. The last time I lost all the weight, I just did a habit change where I'd lift weights and get on the exercise bike as a matter of, getting home from work. Oh, I got to get on the exercise bike. And I did that for a while and it worked. But then I got fired and I immediately gained it all back. 20 kilograms, around 44 pounds. That is significant. Congrats. That's awesome that you were able to change your habits. Yeah, you got to do it for what, like 3 weeks in order for it to become normalized. And I did. I gradually, I did a little bit of exercise bike until I was tired and then I stopped. I did a little bit more and a little bit more. And then it became, I have to stop in an hour or I'm going to puke. People who do not understand metric annoy me. Be annoyed. What am I supposed to do? I'm just being honest. I'm ADHD and autistic. That's a trip and a half in life. Yeah, that's a tough gander. That's a tough one. Metric is around half of imperial. You mean double? No, metric half. Yeah. Okay, you got it right. You got it right. How many acorns there are in a toe? Well, I don't know that either, man. ADHD friend. Yeah. Everybody's been putting that tag on their streams. I feel like you need a note from your psychiatrist in order to put that on your stream. But that, hey, look, you can put whatever tags you want. I got birthday girl because I'm the birthday girl. I just put it on there because I thought it was funny it existed. Tags are weird. Nobody's regulating them. I don't even think anybody's using them either. I hope that we can actually get this stuff to work today. We're going to follow a tutorial for getting STM32 Arduino'd. And then my copy of the Arduino IDE is going to become even more cursed. No, you did not get them flip-flopped. I routinely will flip-flop things like that. That's why I double-checked. All right, let me get the music out of here and we can explain what the project is. How are we doing on YouTube? Hey, we got like 1 billion YouTube viewers. That's awesome. Wow, it's like 5,000. I often think, you should probably like bot your stream, even though it's the lowest of the low. It's like below slime mold. You're just the lowest creature in existence for botting your stream. But if I botted my stream, other people would see it a little bit, right? Metric is a scientific system of measuring used by engineers. But the Mars thing was a miscommunication and we used, the wrong thing. But America's pretty much on the metric standard. It's just that publicly we use imperial units. I want to make that bug big before it goes away. What bug? What bug big? What big bug big? Make that bug big, big bug. But I don't want to make you mad. Oh, you want to do that? It's not gonna make me mad. You're just exercising. All right, let's get started, huh? Building with Imperial is usually easier but more error prone. It's easier for me to keep the numbers in my head because I was trained wrong as a joke. That's the problem with Imperial. Imperial temperatures I tend to like a little bit more just because it's easier for me to contextualize at low temperatures. For like computer temperatures, I think in Celsius, because again, I was trained correctly in that one. I wasn't in the other. This is all basically our parents' fault for not adopting it in the 70s. Even on the disgusting American speedometers, you will have an inner ring of metric values on older cars, on like cars from the 80s and 90s. That's just par for the course. I haven't been looking at those numbers, which means I do not know. I basically know that 60 kph, or no, 100 kph is like 60 miles an hour-ish. I forget what the conversion is. Again, these are all things that I need to look up in order to know, but that's just, it's the world we live in, all right? If prevailing minds could get their asses in gear, we wouldn't be where we are. The global situations that are going on right now wouldn't be where they are. And we'd bet your ass we'd be using metric for everything, because standardization is much easier than me having to have two numbers every time I talk to you guys. But hallmark of a good engineer, you can work in both. And I can work in both just fine. I can generally conceptualize millimeters, and I can easily know what inches are. I prefer to work in millimeters if I'm measuring stuff, you know? Imperial temps feels more like how the temperature would feel to somebody, but that depends on humidity. Yeah, there's a lot of factors in it. People have described it on the internet, people who think they're smart, as a percentage of whether it's really effing hot or really effing cold. But at 0 degrees Fahrenheit here, I don't think it's like brutally cold. You're a little bit past the point where it hurts, but that's not a metric. That's not like a pin you can put a point in. So anyway, yeah, blah, 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 blah. Let's get start soon out of here. Start soon out of here. Let us abruptly pause the music. Yeah, that was good. That was really just abruptly, it just stopped all at once. How's it going, everybody? All right, so welcome to twitch.tv's Oh Bother. I mean, that's what the sign says. This is a misprint of my rack spacer where I didn't put it at 45 degrees, so it went straight up and down. This is meant to be illuminated from behind, but then I can do the Duresta thing where they put the Twitch TV Oh Bother. I can just throw that in the background of anything that I shoot. So I decided to keep it around. This is a pretty good 3D print. Should probably print another one, but I did a material change from clear, quote unquote, to black, and then that makes a nice translucent shine through kind of sign. Anyway, welcome to Philadelphia, where it is potentially going to be 80 degrees outside. So we are naturally spending that time indoors. I am working on a simulator setup. A simulator setup is a place where all of your various man baby toys and car parts can be sort of thinly strung together in order to create an experience of actually sitting in a vehicle and piloting it. Whether that be through a steering wheel or joysticks. I have interest in both. I love simulator games, especially not just like specifically simulator games, but just like, you know, car games in general and spaceship games in general. I have a lot of fun with those, and I do enjoy a deeper, more simulatory experience out of them where you're not just like pointing and clicking on stuff. Star Citizen is like that. They have kind of a point and click system, but then if you want to, you can get into the weeds and make everything a little bit more directly involved with the various switches and buttons and stuff. So I love that about that game. And when you do that, you can actually gain an advantage over the people who are just using the point and click. But being accessible to like a normal Xbox controller and a point and click is actually vital for like 99.9% of games, because that's what people have. You know, not everybody has a steering wheel they can plug into their desk and on their computer and get force feedback and all that stuff. So there are not a lot of good games that involve this. But it's been getting better and better. Yeah, it is very hot here. We got a sudden swing in the other direction. We're 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Almost, or I think we're probably around 70 degrees Fahrenheit outside. But since the ground table is still cold, it's actually a little bit chilly in here. Although I do have a fan on me, so what does that mean? Anyway, so yeah, the simulator setup has taken so many forms. You can see down there that there is a 3D printed shifter. This is a project from yesteryear that we did in Fusion 360, and it feels very much like a luxury car shifter. You can also see that I have an actual Mercedes-Benz, you'd be able to see it better if it was facing the other way, actual Mercedes-Benz steering wheel. That came about from more than 10 years ago. I've been around a while, everybody. My summer car, whenever that came out, we had a LAN party, which is when you get all your computers together in person so that you can yell at each other in person. And this is before the days when Discord took off. We'd have to use like TeamSpeak or something. But we decided to get all our computers together because we're adults and we can do whatever we want. And we played My Summer Car, and I said, you know, this game is great and I love it. This would do better if I had a steering wheel. What if I took a real car wheel and I hooked it up to like one of these dinky steering wheel things? So I hopped on eBay because that earworm of an idea kind of made its way into my medulla oblongata. And I got on eBay and I said, well, look at these things. There are actually refurbished steering wheels on eBay, and I could just buy the car part straight up. And I was like, well, I need to have something with paddles. It needs to have paddles on it. Paddles are important because I want to be able to shift, and I don't have a shifter yet. So I ended up buying a Mercedes S-Class steering wheel because it had an up, down, right, and left button. And I figured the buttons on the wheel would help me navigate through menus and stuff, which is not really the case, but yeah, kind of. I could set it up that way. Yeah, LAN parties are way more fun because you go get lunch with your friends, you come back, you play games until the sun starts coming up. I love it. I love doing those, but all my friends grew up, and so we don't do that as much. We don't do that as much anymore. And actually, I think I killed the LAN parties because I bought a handheld. I bought something, it was the Legion Go for like a bunch of money. And at that point, LAN parties died between the remaining friends of mine, just because it would now be convenient for me to get my computer there. That's causality, and that's not actually why, but still. So anyway, I had the steering wheel, and I looked up all of the open source stuff and the Granite devices simulators, and I figured out what I would need, and I bought this 18-pound Mitsubishi servo motor. And I ended up hacking the servo motor to work with the Granite devices controller. I got all that stuff together, and I had a clip that clipped to the side of my desk that held up that 18-pound motor, big sheet of aluminum, frame rails, silicon pads, and clamps. And we got all that stuff together, and I clamped it to my desk, and I won the gold in the initial My Summer Car Rally. I know there's a harder one that I need to be doing. And then I unclipped the whole setup from my desk. I put it in the other room in storage, and I didn't touch it for 3 years, because that's what happens. Taking a note from Flatulent Gonad, who's a streamer. You guys should check out his stream. It's kind of amazing. He does the janky method of what I'm doing. He's got a little wooden steering wheel that he's hooked up. Actually, I think he's got something better now, but I ended up talking to him about having real car pedals on the sim setup, and he looked on his British eBay, and these were like $10. He was able to get real car pedals. I spent like 60. A lot of these real car parts are like $20 to $60, and then you have to pay shipping on top of that. But so over time, I was thinking about, one day I'm going to move the big butcher block table that I've got here away, and I would love to do something like a simulator setup, because when you've got a dedicated setup, it's much easier to just sit down and start doing stuff with, right? So, in the future, I would like to be doing more gaming on my channel. And if I have just a setup that I can kind of cozy up to, I think it'll be kind of cool. So I've already got this brutally powerful motor, this thing that you can overcome it, but it's like kind of a struggle to overcome. It's enough that you could really simulate being on the road. And also it's a little bit of a workout for your arms, which that might come in handy. I over the years, I've been doing other stuff. Like I've got a right and a left-handed Thrustmaster Warthog sitting over there, and I've kind of collected all this simulator stuff. So push comes to shove, my brother ends up buying a coworker's BMW. There's nothing more expensive than a BMW, like a cheap BMW. Nothing more expensive. So he buys it, and he has to do all the high mileage maintenance, which is replacing a lot of expensive stuff. He ends up sort of dragging his feet in the junkyard and going, man, this sucks. And then he finds a BMW with a luxury interior. And you can guess what happened to the luxury interior. It is not here. He put it on his car. This is the sport interior seat from a BMW F10 5 Series. So it's a pretty cushy luxury seat. It has a whole goddamn computer in it. And it is now sitting here because I have little brother privilege, and I ended up winding him down on it. I said, come on, you got to bring me that seat. I'll make good use of it. So he drops a whole bunch of responsibility off in my shop, and I get this content generation engine during the holidays. And then I spent the rest of my budget for the year on frame rails. So everything we do from here on out has to be dinky little microcontroller things or taking apart stuff that I already own. I cannot go out of my way to buy something from Temu in order to have a haha funny time taking it apart. We used to take apart stuff and take a look at how they work and stuff like that. My favorite was the Ouya controller, the Ouya console. If you hit 2 buttons, it would register that you hit 2 buttons, but then as soon as you touch a trigger, it'll forget that you're hitting the buttons. How's that good for gaming? It's horrible. Buy a used car, replace all the parts, get a new car, except old motor. Why are you Theseus's carring? Driving simulator would be epic when you would have an actual car body and get it opening the car door. Listen, there's a thing with the simulators where getting in and out of it needs to be sort of easy. And that's why these beams are at an angle, so you can get your feet in here without bashing your feet against these beams. These are going to be straight up and down. I decided to put them at an angle because that means that you can sit on the chair and swing your legs in. Gonad was telling me that I should make the whole chair move 90 degrees, and I don't have it here, but I do actually have a circular bearing that I could put that on. Those beams were cool. They're so expensive. Let me tell you. This beam, $170. I spent a lot of money on this. A lot of money on the frame, and I'm no longer allowed to spend money. I typically have like a yearly budget for this stream, and when Burn the Subs is working, the subscriber burner, that budget swells and I'm able to do stuff like that. But Burn the Subs doesn't run for a while, so with the promise of Burn the Subs going back up, I'm doing a little bit on the simulator. Also, part of doing the simulator is that I got the brewing table out of here, which means this is a little bit smaller than what was blocking my way to Burn the Subs. So now I can work on Burn the Subs in the future too, and a little bit more unburdened. I need to take some hardware off of this thing. I want to move that chain up to the top. That's going to be a whole thing. It's a whole thing. There's all these projects. These projects they're so involved. But anyway, so yeah, with my brother dropping the chair off here, I was like, this has got to happen. And so now I'm rounding up all of my hardware and I'm trying to get that working. And that's getting the force feedback controller working, getting all of the button panels working and stuff. And I figure the coolest way to do it, the part that's really going to interest me the most, is if I have a configurable bus system, the same thing that the car parts use to communicate with one another, but it's in service of communicating analog positions and button statuses. What we can do with that is with 75,000 buttons, some games will only recognize so many buttons, so many analogs, so many digitals. There's a whole host of computer programs that you can use in order to reconfigure that. I would rather it be something on a physical device. It's still a computer program, but it's on a device instead of on Windows. So, you know, I could go to Linux, I could go to Mac OS if I wanted to. The way that I figure would be the best to do that is to use the CAN bus, and everybody speaks CAN bus. CAN bus 500 kilobytes per second, kilobits, or is it that weird whatever it is, the what is that thing called? The 1027 is called something else and stuff. Whatever. Anyway, CAN bus. It's the same bus that cars use. Very fast if you're using the faster speed. Water is made out of water. Anyway, so my sim rig has CAN bus. Yeah, exactly. Well, so when you mention car door, getting all the buttons and controls and stuff mounted so that you can get to them easily ends up giving you a sim pit where you have to climb into the thing like it's an aircraft. The other way to do it is to have a door that can open, and so you get in and close the door. I'm still wondering if that's going to be the fate of this thing or not. I wanted to get the arms of my chair secondhand, and unfortunately, there's only one seller on eBay that's selling it for too much, but those arms you could swing out of the way. So I could have the arm swing out of the way, and then you have to kind of get your feet out, and then you could swing the arm back when you're done. But my scheme is to have everybody speaking CAN bus, even the devices that are going to translate into button pads and stuff for the computer. The way I can do that is by plugging microcontrollers into a USB hub. These microcontrollers will monitor CAN bus, but they'll also show up as like a keyboard or a mouse, a HID device to the computer. So if I split a button off from the main force feedback controller, one of these can actually take up the job of that button and press it for a different device. And that can help unbefuddle sim programs that are sort of complicated. I want to do that all in one interface, and the interface that I would like to use is Node-RED, because we've used it to great success for all of the stream interactive stuff here. I can build a little microcontroller that will set off a solenoid given a channel points redemption in about 5 minutes on the stream. I can do that, and I can give you guys something that you control using all of the various pieces of the Twitch API. If I can use Node-RED to have all of my button presses on one side and all of my button outputs on the other and make a nice spaghetti between them, I can also incorporate Twitch interaction with the nodes, which means I can give you guys the ability to move the seat. You could spend $1, you could spend 50 cents, you could spend $2, you could spend, what I'm saying is give me money, give me money, give me money. No, anyway, what I'm saying is that I can put Twitch API interactions to things like moving the seat, moving the wheel, all kinds of like just completely satanic stuff. I can get in control of chat. That sounds hellish. That's the point, man. So putting steering wheel stalks on the wheel means that I have turn signals, but I also have the lever that controls the position of the wheel and turns on and off the wheel heating. And so if chat turns on the wheel heat and I'm driving around and suddenly my hands are sweating, what the hell? And then I can turn it off with a physical control. So what you guys will be doing is essentially making me go to a physical control in order to cancel out whatever you've decided to do. Now this is all conceptual, right? None of this stuff is real yet. We have gotten the Raspberry Pi to speak CAN bus. It seems pretty adept at that. CAN bus, of course, is very well known for automation controls. And the 3D printer crowd has converted their hot ends, giggity, has converted their hot ends to CAN bus in the interest of having fewer wires connecting everybody. And so they've got this digital bus that's going between the two, and it's fast enough that it can, get all the communications that it needs to like motors and heaters and stuff. And hey, thank you so much. Zenmeister Siggy, thank you so much for subbing. And that's 7 months. Oh no, 8 months. It's a 7 months tier 1. They've been subscribed for 8 months. Okay, this message is confusing me. Zenmeister Siggy resubscribed for 7 months at tier 1. They've been subscribed for 8 months. Oh, is that the first one was gifted? Okay, weird. What about chat-controlled motion rig? Break streamer's neck for 500 bits. I have one linear actuator that would be appropriate for this thing. It is unfortunately a complete bruiser. It is a 600 millimeter linear actuator. I would need 5 more of them. They costed, back when I looked it up, $5,000. Not new. That's the price on eBay. Should I have sold it for $5,000? Yeah, maybe, but I'd probably lose my health insurance from making all that money. That's the way bother works right now. Yeah, so the one linear actuator that I was given is 600 millimeters. It's a huge amount of travel. It would be able to make me an incredible motion rig. You don't really need that much. You could do like 200 millimeters, I think, would be enough to give you sort of the sensation of moving around a little bit, right? But it would be very funny if I made streamer money, real streamer money, to do 5 of them, because you do three triangles, so you need 6 of them total, but 3 triangles like this, and then that can tilt and twist and do all the. I'm not doing that. The fun shall be tremendous. Streamer found dead in makeshift go-kart. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is looking more and more like the when they show that little cutout of Mike from Red Letter Media in the little like funhouse cart. That's kind of what this feels like. But anyway, the point is I can do some immersive gaming stuff in a like a setup where I can have full control of everything, and then I can not have full control of everything by letting you guys control stuff. So in the pursuit of that, ultimately, we are hacking a bunch of devices. And the devices that we're hacking first are some things like the shifter that my brother gave me that I have nothing to do with. I don't really have any use for this thing. This thing simply is a chicken wing that it gives you like 4 position controls, and you can kick it over and do the controls over there, but it needs certain CAN bus messages in order to operate. And there have been a couple blogs that we were looking at that have reverse engineered these things. And so we got there with this so that we know that we're communicating. I have to burp. Hold on. I had raviolis and spaghetti sauce. for lunch, so my stomach is a war zone. Okay, I really got to stay away from the tomato. So, anyway, my brother has dropped this thing off, which is the only native CAN bus speaker of all the things. Well, actually, the seat does speak CAN bus, but we're not totally certain about it. One, we don't know if it's speaking it at the moment. We got it to power, we got it to adjust some stuff. I really ultimately want to be able to fully communicate with the chair, because then we'll be able to turn on seat heat, we'll be able to move the headrest up and down, and the headrest up and down and the seat heat are not on the side panel that's provided with the seat. So we do need to have full CAN bus control of the seat. We'll get there. We worked with the shifter a little bit. The shifter works on possibly the faster CAN bus. So we were able to get the faster CAN bus communicating with this. If the seat speaks a different CAN bus, I will have to put a microcontroller in there as a moderator so that it can receive the 500 kilobyte CAN bus and relay it to the 100 kilobyte CAN bus. I don't want to have to do that, but if I do, I will. So we got this thing communicating, and that means that our faster CAN bus is speaking to the Raspberry Pi. I kind of pivoted in order to keep stream interesting when we took a look at the Midi controller, because that brings the music people back into the fray, the people who do the modular synthesizer stuff that I also do on this channel. And we looked at it, and it turns out that it uses an STM32 microcontroller, which is, hey, that's the same microcontroller that I see in modular synthesizers every now and then, which means we kind of know how to program that. So I looked it up, and it turns out that we can load Arduino compatible bootloader into the STM32, which means we might be able to get this thing hacked pretty quick. And if I can turn this program into a shell of a CAN bus communicating button thing, I can translate that over to some RP2040s, and we can take over more of my peripherals. So we can get a nice busy CAN bus going so that I can install Node-RED onto the Raspberry Pi and see if that will work properly. You just need one-way communication to the seat, right? From CAN? Two-way. I think it needs two-way, because it's a keep alive signal, and then it relays stuff back. We don't necessarily need to listen to what's coming back, so I could potentially use the Raspberry Pi with CAN bus to try to inject a signal into the chair. But I think we measured the waves that are coming back on it, the data line, and it looked like it was 100 kbps instead of 5. I really hope it speaks 5, but I don't think it does. By the way, these chairs, the seat that I have, I guess I could have a passenger seat. That would actually be very funny if I did that. I don't have space for it. And listen, guys, if I was a big rich streamer and I had 300 to 500 people watching me, which I'm still under the delusion that will happen someday. I'm still healthily under the delusion that one day my stream will pop off and maybe I'll be able to afford health insurance and make money. But the point is, my brother still has the passenger seat. It would be very funny if I had the space to have a passenger seat. Anywho, these are popular chairs with simulator setups. They're pretty easy to hack into. They got some cool stuff going on for them. Mostly, though, the people don't really hack into them. They attach them to either their classic car or the simulator setup, and then into the CAN bus line at the bottom, they will inject a 1 kilohertz square wave. 100 kilohertz. I don't know how many they inject a square wave into the CAN bus line, and that keeps the seat alive so that you can adjust it at all times. I guess they don't really need, it's too bad it doesn't work on its own, but generally when you boot it up, it goes, I'm not attached to a car, and then it goes to bed. So this is the steering column from a Mercedes of some type. I got it for $20 on eBay. There's enough aluminum here that I think it's probably worth way more than $20, but don't tell eBay. This has full adjusting on it. It telescopes back and forth, and it goes up and down. So that means that I'm able to adjust the seat and the wheel. The wheel has its own motor. The steering wheel has its own motors. It doesn't have its own computer. So we'll have to come up with a controller for that. I've got motor controllers that can do that all day. It's easy to do. We actually, in order to make it fit in the simulator setup, because Mercedes has a supremely long steering column, it's an incredibly long steering column, we actually put it into the crash position. We took out a whole bunch of hardware and were able to crash it because it telescopes under an incredible amount of force. It will telescope in. And that is so that you don't impale yourself on your steering wheel if you get into a really bad accident. we were able to just do that because we're never going to get into an accident with it. I don't need that crash structure. So anyway, that's the whole project. That's everything about the project that I want to relay. There will be all kinds of opportunities to put lights and sirens and all kinds of weird stuff in there. I'll probably use it with headphones, so I'm not going to put speakers on it. I don't need to put in a thumper or whatever they are, the things that people put in the bass in order to make it vibrate. That's a bit much, and the scope of this is I want to get all that stuff together so that I can actually like do some gaming streams with you guys. I think that'll be a lot of fun, and we'll have to put chat on something fun. I have a monochrome green screen that's like a tube. If I put chat on that, that'll look pretty good on camera. So maybe I'll think about doing that, or maybe I could just put that whole computer on a stool and have that run chat of some kind. We'll have to figure it out. It'll be another Raspberry Pi. So we designed some brackets here to get the angles right. I haven't bolted that up yet. I am going to get some flat plates that go in the bottom here, and that'll hold on to the front of this beam. And then I'll probably replace these with the gusseted angles just so it's stronger, because you want the brake pedal to take a lot of force. The human body can put a lot of force. The leg muscles are enormous. We need to hold up our entire body and then still be able to jump against the entire mass of the planet. And so leg muscles are not to be trifled with. And when people are driving in a simulator rig with real car parts, it feels very much like people want to put an entire truck onto these rails here. And with the weird angles that I had to use in order to get the pedals to be, you know, the proper orientation to the seat, it puts a lot of weird forces on stuff. So I've had to build up this area and make it extremely beefy in order to take that force. But anyway, I'm like one more delivery away from getting all that together and figured out. It'll be nice when we have actual physical hardware on the thing, and then we can start to tie it all together with electronics. That's a B, but it's not a voice box B. Strange. Apiary, hi, how's it going? How are you doing, Trey Pop? So anyway, that's the whole project. It takes me so long to explain every single time I explain it. I've been gibbering on long enough. I need to actually start working on stuff so that I can put my money where my mouth is, put my mouth to my money. Money is very dirty. Don't put your mouth to it. So our job today is to figure out programming an STM32 in Arduino. I have bought a pretty obsolete STM32 Blue Pill module. This is an Arduino module. It is Blue Pill. That's why I put all that incel shit in my title. I am not going to do a thumbnail with Morpheus on it. The temptation is there to be the corniest person in the world. It's like a contest. I'm going to be the corniest and nobody can stop me. I'm going to put Matrix references in my title. Anyway, I thought we might attract some weirdos. So this is the Blue Pill. It is just a little board that adapts the STM32 to a breadboard. It has all the SWDIO pins on the back there, and then it has your two jumpers, boot 0 and boot 1. We don't have anything like that on this board, on the actual Midi thing. The Midi thing has the USB pins, but they go up here, and they go over to just directly to the USB through some resistors, like some protection resistors. They just go straight out to USB. Those also happen to be the CAN bus pins, so I will be able to hook up our CAN bus board either here or back here, and I will be able to make the output of this thing CAN bus, and I'll maybe put a different 4-pin header over here because we don't really need the USB socket. That's kind of hateful. I don't like that socket. It's not good. But we also have our JTAG pins here. So I assume using Arduino, we could make a hex file and then put it on directly, or we can load a bootloader on. I don't know how that works if you're using CAN bus instead of USB. So those are the questions that I need to answer by going through this tutorial on how to get the Blue Pill STM32 running Arduino IDE. Running from, I don't know, running on. So yeah, let's get started. So I'm gonna plug this thing into its own headers, and we're just gonna solder these up in order to just make it into a lab device instead of a, I don't know, floating thing. The first thing I always think about with these boards, when they don't have headers soldered to it, I'm like, oh, that's perfect for cosplay. Like, or putting lights on a fursuit. It's like the first thing that my brain thinks of. My addled brain, my poor brain. So how's it going out there in internet land? Has everything exploded yet? I think we're barreling towards the sun, right? Kind of a quietish day. It's going to be 80 degrees in Philadelphia, so we're hiding out in the basement where it's cool. The ground table lags behind. Why is that program? Hold on, I got a program highlighted here. What are you trying to tell me? Oh, that's just YouTube chat, which works. Madam, you and Lawn Dog. I missed you guys. I guess you guys were caught in the fray. That should be up on camera. So yeah, the YouTube streaming has been doing all right. Not great. I mean, obviously I partnered with Twitch. Nothing's going to compare to that. I don't know how to grow my numbers. I'm not going to do a 24-hour stream. That would kill me. Although that would probably help. If at some point Willow is relegated to a family member for a weekend, I could do some crazier streams. We could maybe finish Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy. I could whip some other game out that's popular maybe. Everybody and their dog played that horse game, and I love how cursed that game looks. The one where it's just like C64 graphics, but with slightly better music. Today's going to be a programming day, and as soon as the IDE hits the output of my stream, as soon as it's shown on camera, we're going to get the programmers in here, and it's going to get weird. It always does with the programmers. It always gets weird. I've been thinking of modifying this Fender amp I have, but I kind of want to learn where to start first. Whew. Guitar pedals are a comprehensive subset of soldering-y kind of projects. Guitar pedals are prevalent in sort of the soldery world, and there's more than likely, and I will not vouch for it because I do not know, because I learned how to do electronics as a teenager when the best book to do it was the Forrest Mims like notebook book, that where it is actually guilty of the most heinous thing that I've ever seen, that I've experienced multiple times in the hobby of electronics, which is where they encourage beginners, very, very beginners, to plug a transformer into an electrical socket. They say, hey, here's a 1 to 10 transformer, kid. You're what, 9, 10 years old here. Have this 1 to 10 transformer, and what I want you to do is to plug it in the fucking wall. And so they have you plugging this crap into the wall in order to make a 12-volt AC power supply. From there, there's trivial diode and capacitor filtration that will turn it into a 12-volt DC power supply. But it is the world's worst DC power supply because all it has is a couple capacitors and diodes. Now, obviously, wall warts back in the 80s were that kind of crap. But since then, we have all kinds of clever power factor correction and safety. So incredibly stupid to tell a child to plug something into the... Okay, so anyway, if you're doing electronics hobby stuff, if you're going to be doing guitar pedals, that'll be a lot of AC power supplies, sort of. You may deal with like 12 volts a lot of plus minus voltages, maybe 15 volts, which gives you a plus minus spread if you choose a virtual ground in the middle. Just be wary of safety as you go through, and you should be able to find a pretty good wealth of beginner projects. OctoJ, my not former moderator, he's still a moderator, he's just not around. OctoJ was actually doing some stuff with guitar pedals, and he had websites that would detail how to build this stuff for the very beginners who didn't even know what they were looking at. A lot of reading. You're going to do a lot of reading if you want to be able to harness the technology instead of just being able to build the technology. And if you're looking for tips, I got a Discord, and the Discord is full of people willing to help, including myself. I will frequent the electronics help section, and because for some reason, I guess I've cinched my name, I've tied my name up to being a fairly smart electronics stream, like kind of beyond what the typical electronics streams are smart at. We get some pretty crazy questions in there. We get some complicated questions. And I have to jump in and go, oh my God, That is an amazing question. It is well out of my purview. I don't know how to even approach answering that. Maybe somebody else will see it, just so that they don't get like completely neglected in the electronics help section. But we have an electronics help section. You don't have to ask the smartest question in the world. You can ask dumb questions, and then we get to feel smart by answering them. That's how it works. That's the trade-off. But yeah, I think looking at guitar pedals, I know you're trying to do stuff with amps, but guitar pedals are a good place to sort of cut your teeth. Whew. The board's interesting. I've not tried this STM32 yet, but looking forward for one. I think it's not new. I think it's not new. I think this is very old, because I couldn't find a lot of blue pills on the Amazons. I think the RP2040 is just as capable, and you can get these for a lot cheaper. Ooh, blue oil. Ew. What are you doing? What are you doing over there? No. Yeah, we're doing blue pill, and the only reason that we're getting blue pilled and mogging and what are all these words that incels are coming up with? Somebody needs to like restrain them or something. The only reason we're going blue pill is because we have the exact same processor in a different epoxy jacket. This is the same processor, just in a different trench coat, and it's got more pins out on this thing. So we can see about Arduinoizing it, Arduining it, Arduini. It's the Arduinis. And then if we can get Arduino running on this, we can get Arduino running on the other one. That was the whole purpose of the, I wanted to stop and get an actual like thingy wingy to try to do this with. Raspberry Pi Pico, too powerful for a majority of the kinds of projects that we do around here. I have a singular guitar pedal, very small distortion pedal. Yeah, and there's a whole lot about the electrical engineering, and you're getting into like analog music stuff, which we have done on this stream for modular synthesizers. There's a lot of cool stuff. I have the advantage of having a formal education in a lot of the electrical engineering stuff, and also just being interested in music and musical equipment, namely, for a long, long time. Julian, my buddy who's coming maybe next Saturday, when he comes in here, it's usually me fixing his modular synthesizer, but he's been after me for 25 years to build him a synthesizer, and I never known how to do it. I know a little bit about analog circuitry. I know a lot about digital. And so we did modular synthesizers. And now I'm like, okay, I know exactly how to do this. I know how to go digital to analog, analog to digital within the synthesizer realm. And I sort of know the components. One of the things that we're going to do when Julian comes in, not this Saturday, but next Saturday, one of the things that we're going to do is sit down with the components that I have for a synthesizer, the ones that I know work. Maybe they're tuned badly, but we can put together something that we could call synthesizer at the end of that. I want him to actually try to educate me on how to do this stuff so that I know what I'm doing, I study information technology, but I'm more into electronics stuff, so I'm learning embedded. Embedded is a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Being able to, do, and then hit enter, and a little LED comes on in the real world is really cool. And we lost sight of that. I think we lost sight of that. We don't have like a parallel port or a COM port on a computer anymore. Those are gone. We have USB and virtual COM ports, which I guess is okay, but still, we lost sight of that sort of physical aspect of computer technology, and embedded becoming super popular as a hobby thing is the best thing in the world. I love it because you get artists and engineers alike being able to make their harebrained ideas come to fruition. And every now and then you get something where you get like the university mathematicians reinvent integrals because they don't know that there's actually already a solution that we've had since the 1960s for things like filter stabilization. So that's where my formal education kind of helps me out a little bit. I was able to do motors and control systems, which probably a mistake at the time, but nowadays I should have probably looked directly to the car companies and said, hey, I know motors, like electric motors, because yeah, robots and stuff like that. But it's tough to get into a lot of that stuff. I ended up immediately going into animatronics. Oh, are you making a sex bot? Can you guys finally make a sex bot? Just do it. Anyway, that was in high school. I got made fun of. They said that I would do that. Nowadays, I could be a millionaire if I had just done what they told me to do and built a sex bot. I would have been rolling in cash and sex bots. Anyway, so point is, it didn't seem like much of a, like my skills would translate very well into the American job market at the time. 20 years later, it does, but I got a job in electronics for a very niche thing, which was reverse engineering improvised explosive devices, reverse engineering IEDs for the government. So still could. Would that go against TOS? I know Twitch is like gung-ho about like science and education, or they wanted to be. And if they would just, Twitch, just come on, just give me viewers. We're actually doing science here. It's not all sex bots. Anyway, I know they were gung-ho about that. I don't think a sex bot would jive with TOS. I think you'd be in a bad situation. It is science and education, after all. Yeah, this is just robotics, the undulating robotics of sex bots. All right, somewhere around here we've got a tutorial that I need to follow. This doesn't, that doesn't look like that. There we go. So this tutorial, program STM32 Blue Pill by Femoid Mogging. No, wait, no, with Arduino IDE. SM32 Blue Pill, feature-rich development board, use SM232, 32-bit ARM Cortex M3 processor, running at 72 megahertz. Now, these are just numbers to me. They don't really mean much to me personally. I'm not too invested in them. But 72 megahertz sounds like a lot. 32-bit ARM Cortex sounds like a lot. The number of threads is insane. And if we have multiple threads in this thing, we might be able to have one thread monitor the keypad, one thread throwing out packets, all that stuff. If STMs are used in industry, that's one thing. I'm interested in them besides AVR stuff. Yeah, AVR and STM, I don't know where they fall under the purview of industry, because outside of hobbies and rapid prototypings, I don't think you're going to see those chips a whole lot. There's a whole other microcontrollers are a big world, and they get fairly weird and complicated. I know previously there was a lot of PIC microcontrollers out there because they had really good security features. You could lock it down and nobody will be able to get into it. I use STM32 daily. It works as Boom Leg Shot, a regular on the channel. That's interesting. Yeah, and I guess the STM is pretty, almost use my pedal as a mouse. Was there a hold on, I'm looking for, I mean, I built a push-to-talk pedal for OctoJ, but we used an ATtiny85 for that. Yeah, I don't know what's being used in industry a lot. Damn, I randomly stumbled upon a Linux person. No, I'm not using this. This is Windows 10. I know Linux though, to a degree. Just maybe not in the way that somebody randomly stumbling into the channel would know it. I mean, we use things that are adjacent quite a lot. But yeah, so we're doing STM32 Blue Pill. Some require external, don't, blah, 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 blah. This is actually almost exactly the one that oh, there's this USB-C. I should have looked for that. Ours is the hateful USB micro. Hateful plug this is. It's possible that in plugging this thing in, this whole plug will rip off of the board. I've seen it. Damn, I randomly stumbled upon a Windows 10 person. Arduino HID. So we either do Arduino HID with a bootloader, ST-Link compatible emulator and programmer, or a USB to 3.3 volt TTL adapter. I have all three of those. That shit's end of life. Yeah, it is, but we've got one sitting in front of us, so. There's a lot of choices. We're able to design our end of ARM tooling using it, and then utilize the MCU on a custom board after the prototype. Crazy. You certainly look like a Linux person. Fuck you. Okay, anyway, let's go back over here. Look like a Linux person. I'm gonna get a haircut on Wednesday. show you. The first thing you need to do is to download and install the Arduino IED to your computer. You can get the latest. Okay, official website. What is the? What is this? I have to enter that. Okay, www. Dot. What was it again? Why are these? What is this? Why are these things so complicated these days? What? Okay, Arduino. Where was the? Okay, there. Arduino. CC Duino. Dot. It's not coming up. It's not coming up. What do I do? Okay. So anyway, Arduino IDE. Let's just start it up. I don't think I have to install this stuff while it's not running, but we're basically going to be adding a new core to the IDE's repertoire. And this is like a completely punished version of the Arduino IDE. We've done a lot of weird projects with it, and they all sort of add their own stuff. I have been in denial about getting the new version of the Arduino IDE. We'll just run off of the whatever this is. Yeah, using the board library. This was, oh, we'll keep that up too. All right, let me go back into tutorial mode. I'm not going to do beginner tutorial mode. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so we're adding a repository, which hopefully still works. Let's find out. File, preferences, and then additional boards manager URLs. And we're just going to go to the end here. Oh God, I have to arrow key through the whole thing. All the way to the end. Where is the end of this? This is how punished this IDE is, comma. Oh, you know what? That's why this is here. Cancel. Whatever, who cares? Paste. Okay. Oh my God. Why do you want to use Arduino with STM32? Listen, I'm sure your IDE is better than mine. I appreciate being able to program things in the Arduino IDE just because it's what I'm used to. It's what I like looking at. STM32 has all these comprehensive programming tools. I could probably get Platformio to do it too. And it's probably going to be a better interface and I'll be better for it. But I like using my dumpy little Arduino IDE. It's scuffed and it's weird, and I just like using it. It's very minimal. Is there not like an extension for Arduino and ESP32 in VS Code? I'm sure there is. Why are we not writing the hex file in Notepad? Everybody, you know, programming streams, I said, as soon as, I said this earlier, as soon as the IDE is shown on screen, people are going to start coming in and telling me that I should do things differently. That's just what happens. You get the programming weirdness. And I don't have a great explanation of myself all the time. And generally, people are looking for something to satisfy their specific inquiry. They go, streamer. They look down their nose at me. They go, streamer. Explain to me in my own terms. Explain to me in my own terms why I should accept you. So, yeah, it's the Twitch IDE. That's what it is. You should use a punch card. Yes, and little things that spoof, they poof air through the punch cards. I mean, technically I work for you, but we've seen how well that goes. Okay, so we've added the new thingy. We've added the new thingy. Board manager, STM32, and we want the one by ST Micro. Board man, okay, board, what was it again? Tools. You mean my chat? Board manager, where's board manager? And then we wait forever for it to load. Downloaded 00. Uh-oh. STM32 depreciated. Please use new package index. No. This is so we're starting to run into this where everyone's moved on from this IDE. So I probably should too, but that won't be today. Everyone's moved on. Ah, Solid Electronics, thank you for 34 months. Arguing about IDs kind of traditional here. Not all traditions should be upheld. You guys triggered a hype train. Whoa. Man, with the simulator setup, I'm going to have to figure out how to put my audio mixer back into the fray. Where I can reach it so that I can do sound effects and stuff. I can be doing all the Morning Zoo radio sound effects with that thing. I spent a lot of money on it. I like having everything on the one mixer and having it be separate from the computer, where if I want to move it from device to device, it's not going to change its microphone settings. So that wants you to switch the URL, not the IDE. Oh. That opened up in my Social Stream Ninja Blade. Okay, let's see, where we got? What the? That's not, what? Oh, it took me to a different. It wants you on the STM GitHub. I can't highlight right now because it's installing. Whatever, we're just going to use the old version. It doesn't matter. Do you reverse engineer stuff normally? For 10 years of my life, that was my job, was to reverse engineer electronics on sort of a physical level and also on a software level, getting to know exactly how they work and what the design trends were within the actual device itself. If you ask two engineers to build a device, they will build you a vastly different suite of hardware in order to accomplish very specific goals. There is more than one way to skin a cat, and why are you skinning cats, you freakish bastard, you monster? So I have taken those skills to Twitch, where I can reverse things like MIDI controllers with you guys, and we can try to take over the hardware with our own software in order to accomplish our goals. Part of reverse engineering is also getting to know how engineers generally do something. You need to know a lot about engineering and electronics design in order to reverse engineer something, because part of it is getting into the brains of the designers and what sort of technology they bring into the fray by, routing their traces in a particular way and doing this and that and the other thing. There's all kinds of little nuances to it. So maybe perhaps it's a bit of a flex, just because I am currently not a successful adult. I can sit here and go, I'm good at reverse engineering. I'm better than everybody else. Is that still a valid job? No. No, you're not going to find companies looking to hire somebody who's able to reverse engineer technology. In industry, I don't really think you want that, because you kind of want to come up with your own. More than one way to skin a deer. I don't even know how to approach that. If there was a deer, I gotta skin this thing. Chat controls the mute button. That would be horrifying. You see how crestfallen I am when I discover that I've muted myself for an entire rant. That would do psychological damage to you. This is taking a while. Hey man, I know it's depreciated, but I guess it's done downloading. Is it still installing? I guess I'll just leave it to do what it wants. This thing's getting kind of slow. My confidence is not growing. Big bar. Big bar. Nope, big bar didn't. I don't see any movement in big bar. I'm tempted to press cancel. But then again, we saw how long it takes this IDE to load stuff, because this is a completely scuffed version of the Arduino IDE. Probably need to tear it all down and build it all up from the bottom. But oh, installation complete. And it's still a cancel button. We just got to give it time. There we go. Okay, close. All right. Our tutorial's for the older version anyway, so whatever. What version are they on? 1.9. Our version is a little bit beyond 1.9, so yeah, this is fine. Nothing will go wrong. So if we're going to use the Arduino bootloader, the STM32 Blue Pill is pre-flashed with an Arduino bootloader, which allows you to download the sketch through the Type-C connector. But if we don't have one, what do we do? So that's just upload a sketch. We could also do the STM32 emulator and programmer dongle. I should probably not use that word. Just don't say dongle, okay? We may be using this right here, this tutorial, in order to load software onto the mixer, or onto the Midi pad, because our USB pins right there that are gone, those are going to be used for CAN bus, and I don't think we can upload via CAN bus. The dangle of the dongle. So we have the STM32 Cube programmer, and I guess we can select that within the Arduino IDE. That's using their program, but oh, I see. Okay, USB support, none. Upload method, SWD serial, and DFU. So I want to try doing this with the Blue Pill, and then we can try to burn a new bootloader to it or whatever. To bootloader mode using boot 0 and N reset. Click on the upload button. All right, so let's go back to the SWD, the ST link, which is using SWDIO. And let's try to get, I guess, first a program into the Blue Pill. This thing will already have the Arduino bootloader in it, but we're gonna try to do this sort of from the angle of us actually reprogramming the MIDI pad. I lost where did it go? The ST micro thing. Wait, where is it? I put a light in here, one of those motion activated lights, so I can actually see what's in the drawers a little bit, but it's not high enough to shine into this drawer. So this drawer is still completely dark. Oh well. Ideally, I should put it under here or put something on the front of the toolbox that shines downwards. Maybe I'll figure that out someday. Here's the ST Micro clone. These things are very, very cheap. Yeah, we're gonna try to the first thing is getting a blinking LED. So we need 1, 2, 3, 4. I got 4 here, that's good. We need 3 volts and ground. Hold on, let's see. My hair is getting in my eyes too much. I really need to get a haircut. Now that's fun. Whenever you take this thing out, it like disassembles itself a little bit. That made a satisfying click though. Oh, okay, so the diagram on this side is not the one we want. This is the right one. Reset, clock, swim, studio. How do I studio? I know how to swim. I don't know how to studio. It sounds like fun. Ground, 3355. Okay, cool. So we are going with 3 volts. We are going with, what do we need? We need reset. No, we don't need reset. Swid clock, studio. So I need these two. And we'll just start from one end, I guess. Clock and IO, and then 3 volts, and then ground. No, wrong. That would have blowed it up. We've had a nice little 3-volt differential on the whole thing. That might have actually worked. Okay, there. So that's the hookup. SWOD clock, SWODIO, ground, and 3 volts. And those get their own pins on the back here. Oops. Oh, so I can just plug it in like it's a flat cable. Sweet. Sweetie. SWODIO. Oh no, they're in a different order. So this one's SWODIO. Or no, this is SWOD clock. Software clock. Software IO. No, software IO. Clock is the first one. The reason that I'm like crazy about doing this, you know, the reason that I'm talking to myself like this when I do these things is because I've gotten it wrong enough and I've blown up enough microcontrollers that I feel it is necessary for me to repeat all these things and do the silly thing, but also check, double check, redouble check, and redouble check everything. So like my ground pin is definitely going to ground, right? Yes. And the 3-volt pin is on gray. That's definitely going to 3-volt. Yes. Okay, so technically we are connected to this thing. I just need some kind of a USB extension to plug in the end of this thing. I should really make this USB-C, huh? That's right, I tried to move everything in the lab, but yeah. Okay, do I have like a little... I had a little USB extender before and I threw it in the trash. Let me go to the trash. Let me go source this thing from the trash real quick. I'll just jump into my trash here. Whoa! 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 Okay, cool. That was fun. my lamp just got pulled over, and it threw my glass into this area. And everything over here is sprayed with water. Nothing too sensitive over here though. So actually we kind of lucked out. Oh my God. What a weird thing to have happen. Well, that was annoying. So much for that water. If you're not blowing up microcontrollers, are you really trying? Yes. Being careful has its own virtues. I don't just have stuff exploding all the time. Oh, this is a weird one. Wait, that's not going to help me at all. I don't even know. It's a USB micro to USB. What the fuck? What is that? Why does that exist? What is that even going to do for me? Huh? I guess it'll turn a USB micro plug into a... That's not... I mean... Plug that into here, and then this... No. Okay. That is, in fact, garbage. Was it worth having my glass spill all over all this stuff? I don't know. All right, back to looking for an adapter. I should have something in here, you would think. Because of all the microcontroller programming that we've done. I mean, this isn't even like, we took this ST programmer out recently for something. I forget what though at this point. Okay, I gotta go find an Extendio. I've got one at the back of the shop where all my USB stuff is. Hey, what's up, Lines and Squares? How you doing? I just forgot that I had looped the microphone on this lamp and I pulled it over and it smashed into my glass, which sent water cascading into a bunch of stuff that actually doesn't really care if it gets wet. So it's not a disaster. It was just a mistake. All right, let's see. USBs are in some of these. What I'm looking for is an extension. That's not too long. That's probably this right here. A little shorter would have been preferable, but this will do okay. I bought all these these big thick USB extenders for the webcams. So these are just supposed to actually be able to take a high-speed signal a distance so that my webcams can actually reach their final locations. What up, Carvos? How you doing? We're following a tutorial, more or less. Seems like it's pretty easy stuff, but we're trying to get Arduino running on the STM32, which is essentially the blue pill STM32. I never really messed with them very much, and they were popular not really that recently. They've been in service for quite some time, and so every now and then you find a device that uses an STM32, because if you're going to rapid prototype something, even in like industry, I don't know, music industry is a little less serious than like automation and stuff. But for me, generally, if I'm going to build like a consumer device, I'll start with an Arduino just because I can throw code at it very quickly and I know what I'm doing and I know the capabilities. So STM32 in the sort of heyday of the Arduino said, man, we're not going to really be selling these things a lot if we don't do something with the Arduino like IDE on our chip. So blue pill enters the fray, and then you see things like Midi pads. But then again, we're so far behind the curve on this one. This thing is obsolete. You can't buy this anymore. Well, you can. I think there's one in some shop, but these have been, because they didn't sell, these have just been like discontinued. So also a bit stressed. Hope you're doing good. Yeah, we're doing good. We're always doing good. Oh my God, those LEDs are, oh dear God. Jeez. So STM has not heard of or interacted with sizing the resistors of your LEDs properly. Now the camera's doing a lot of work. The camera's doing a lot of work here in order to sort of tamp down the overall brightness of that LED. That is a harmful, I'm going to find a different extender, by the way. This extender is way too big and too long. It's, you know, I know my steak is too juicy and my, no, you know what? Fine, my steak is too juicy. Steak is too juicy. This is too delicious. My lobster is too delicious. But it's like another wire that's just pervasive on the desk. I wish it was a little smaller, or a baller, or had a girl I would call her. Fine. Okay. Paint pen? What about paint pen? Paint pen? I actually do have a paint pen. But, all right. Cool, so we're all connected and everything. Note, do not connect the STM32 blue pill to a computer via USB-C cable. I can assure you that is impossible for me to do. I can assure you I am unable to connect this thing to the computer via USB-C cable. There's no way that I could possibly manage that. Although, to be fair, I probably should make this into a USB-C. I've been upgrading everything to USB-C here just because it travels a little better from point to point. So I've added a USB-C hub, a powered hub, and then my USB 2 powered hub with a ton of ports plugs into that. And then I have a USB-C power supply here that powers this thing. But that runs all the way to the back of the computer that has one big USB-C port in the back. I actually really like doing that with USB-C. You sort of put all the USB accessories all to one plug and have that plugged into the back of the computer. Then when you need to move the computer, it's just doot, 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 and you're ready to go. Paint pen on the LED. It's the fastest and lowest effort to dim the LED. Oh, I see. Oh, no, I'm not going to do that. If I really want to dim this LED, I can do it in code. Yeah, Julian does the paint pen on the LED thing a lot. All of his LEDs on his modular synthesizer they have like dirty paint on top of them. He does like Sharpie just right on top of it. I guess that power light's not really going to get lowered either. I could change the resistor too if I'm really feeling crazy. I'll leave it in the super duper bright mode, the super Christmas mode that it's in right now. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they're being very, very nice to those engineers that have to make sure that they can see a power light in the middle of the desert at noon. The ones that literally have to work on the sun. They'll be able to see this thing light up and it'll be pretty dim actually. Yeah, we're here in like a basement with not all of my lights working properly, and it's like, yeah, it's throwing out quite a bit of light. Connect your dongle? Oh. Please, sir, I'm not into that. Set the blue pill to bootloader mode using both boot 0 and N reset. That's going to be hard for us to do. Actually, no, we don't have boot 0, do we? Wait a sec. Double check my schematic. Hold on, I need to open that up. Paint. I choose you. Oh God, did I save the paint document? I mean, I know I have the reverse engineer one, but if we made any modifications to it. Technically, this should still be in the folder. Where's my open dialog? There it is. Jeez, it took a while. X85 button pad. Oh yeah, oh that's not the one. MIDI pad schematic. This took me a while, and this is after a long, storied career of reverse engineering. Sorry, sorry if I talk too fast. You guys can play me at half speed, and maybe all of my slurring speech will make sense. Where is the computer without the frames? That's with more frames. I guess I don't have a computer view without the frames, so we'll narrow it down a little bit here. Schematics are a communication from engineer to engineer or from engineer to themselves, and the symbols that you use need to be consistent within themselves. Generally, when reading a schematic, you're reading it like a normal document, left to right, top to bottom, although schematics can kind of tend to cascade down and out, and you try to structure things that communicate different known arrangements of device symbols. So if you're using op amps, you have the thing that goes up and around to tell you that it's like doing a feedback loop kind of thing. Where's my mouse? My vision is based on movement. There it is. So yeah, I stole a button pad thing from, you know, Arduino questions and answers. The power supply, I use a solid down, why do I keep losing my cursor? I use a solid down pointing ground, and then I use an arrow that's labeled to point up at the voltages coming in and all that stuff. Working through it bit by bit, I was able to figure out what all the different structures are. We've got an encoder that basically is a pull down. So when it connects ground onto this, and this is only weakly pulling it up. So this looks like a 0 or a 1, depending on which of the A and B encoders go off. They usually do something like this, which gives you, or no, something like this. There's a little bit of overlap there so that you know the direction that these are moving in. And of course, everything that this button pad does, there's an Arduino library for. So we could just run through, put a bunch of libraries on this thing and have nice organized code. The only thing that, you know, maybe they're not really doing in Arduino libraries is these types of tap pads. So the tap pad is fairly interesting because it uses a concave button in order to short out a resistive material. Now I'm doing resistors as boxes, otherwise you get this for a resistor. So what basically happens is that thing makes initial contact, right? So time is equal to 0, nothing has happened. You've got two pads here. This thing is not connecting them. You have infinite resistance, so there is no positive power on this part of the circuit, right? When it initially taps down, your current is going to flow, maybe it's concave, it's like this. That's easier to explain. Your current is going to go through a large amount of resistance, through the short, and then through another large amount of resistance. So yeah, I represented that thing the wrong way. Unless, because we actually do know that it is concave. So the way to actually show it would be to do this. What it's actually doing. This is a weird way. We'll have to figure out whether or not this works. Maybe like this. That looks really stupid. But anyway, actually I'll make it more narrow, then it'll look cooler. It'll look super cool, futuristic. That looks really bad. Anyway, okay, so let's just explain it from this standpoint. So we're initially pressing down, and actually it doesn't look right for that either, but we initially press down and it'll only make a little contact on the edges here. And so our resistor is this full distance. And so that's a lot of resistive material. As we press